खबरां दा लेखा जोखा अप्रैल 22/2025 आप सब तक पहुंचा रहे हैं। लेकर 62 घर दे विच कोई भी समागम है, विआह शादी है जां वडेरी पार्टी कर रहे हो तो हर प्रकार की लिकर बीयर ते वाइन खरीदण दे लई 6285 किंग जॉर्ज बुलेवार्ड सरी विखे पधारो। लेकर 62 ते
One hospitalized, 14 evacuated after morning Langley fire. A fire at a townhouse complex in Langley destroyed one unit and damaged a number of others Tuesday morning. Township of Langley Deputy Fire Chief Russ Jenkins said that crews got the call before 5:30 a.m. about the fire on 205th Street near 66th Avenue. We had about 14 people evacuated. I don't have any updates on the extent of the injuries, but I understand one person was taken with BC ambulance, he said. Jenkins described the damages as extensive, with the fire impacting not only the townhouse complex but some vehicles in the area and surrounding units. It looks like it spread to about 4 or 5 units, he said. We don't have an exact number of units that has been damaged, but there are quite a significant amount of smoke coming off. We've got our investigators reporting to the scene right now.
लैंगली विखे अज 5:30 बजे के करीब सवेरे अग बुझाऊ अमले नूं अग लगण बारे सूचित किया गया, जिहड़ी कि 205 स्टेट के 66 एवन्यू के एरिए दे विच टाउन हाउसिस दे विच एक यूनिट नूं अग लगण दी खबरसार सी। जदों उत्थे पहुंचे तां उन्हां ने 14 लोकां नूं अग दे इस एरिए दे विचों बचाया, जिस दे विचों एक नूं हस्पताल है जिहड़ा उत्थे भी भेजिया गया। और इस दे नाल अग बुझाऊ अमले ने दस्सिया कि जिहड़ी अग सी वो सिर्फ एक यूनिट दे विचों उदों लगी हुई सी, पर बाद दे विचों कई यूनिट्स नूं प्रभावित कर गई, जिस दे कारण जिहड़ा नुकसान है वड्डी मात्रा दे विच होया। यूनिट्स ही नहीं बल्कि गड्डियां दा भी जिहड़ा डैमेज आ उस बारे भी दस्सिया गया ते नाल दी नाल इस गल बारे भी उन्होंने सूचित किया कि इस दे बारे वधेरे जानकारी जिहड़ी है ओह अगाह दित्ती जाएगी, क्योंकि तफ्तीश अजे भी जारी है।
P-Search duty free may be forced to close as sales continue to drop, says owner. It was supposed to be a long weekend boost, but Easter only brought more bad news for the P-Search duty free in Surrey. Owner Peter Raju says the weekend was terrible, with sales down more than 60% compared to the same time last year. With the Vaisakhi parade, we thought a lot of people would come to the businesses, but nothing happened, he said. Raju's shop has been struggling since tensions with the United States ramped up and fewer travelers started heading south due to continued threats of annexation and an ongoing trade war. It's getting worse. I mean, the first month we were down 80%. We picked up a little bit in March, and then we didn't do anything during the spring break, so we thought there may be some business during the Easter break, and it's just getting worse, he continued. Unless our provincial governments go back and recommend to Canadians or British Columbians to start going back to the US like the Americans are asking us to come back and welcoming us, we need to do something. It's not only me. I talk to people in Whistler, the hotels and the businesses. There is no forward booking, he explained. Raju has been calling on the provincial and federal governments for help, requesting emergency relief for businesses similar to what they were offered during the height of the COVID-19. However, he says he's heard nothing. For the staff, they are finding it difficult. We are down to 3 or 4 employees. We are working only one shift, he said. This weekend we had 4 or 5 and we'll go back down to 3 starting tomorrow, and we can't continue like this. It's really frustrating. It's very difficult even for the staff to meet their rents. You know, there are a lot of students working and they have to pay rent plus their education, so it's very difficult. He says that unless things change, the store may not survive another 6 months.
ਬਾਰਡਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਡਿਊਟੀ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਦੇ ਮਾਲਕ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਹਾਣੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਦੱਸੀ ਹੈ। ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੌਜੂਦਾ ਹਾਲਾਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਵਪਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਵੱਡਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਧੱਕਾ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ, ਔਰ ਇਸ ਰੌਲੇ ਰੱਪੇ ਦੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 80% ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਘਟ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ, ਔਰ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਉਪਰੰਤ ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਉਛਾਲ ਪਈ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਈਸਟਰ ਲੌਂਗ ਵੀਕਐਂਡ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਹੋਏਗਾ, ਪਰ ਵਿਸਾਖੀ ਪਰੇਡ ਦੇ ਬਾਵਜੂਦ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਇਆ। और उसने स्पष्ट ये किया पिछले कुछ समय तो अपनी निरंतर गाथा जिहड़े दसते आ रहे ने। राजू ने भी एक्सप्लेन किया कि किस तरह उन्होंने पास बतेरे एम्पलाइज सन जिन्होंने घटा के 3 करना पिया। मैं फिर 4 या 5 एम्पलाइज नूं रखिया, कहते कल तो असीं फिर 3 कर रहे हैं। होर अगले 6 महीनों के विच तकरीबन सानूं अपना व्यापार है जिहड़ा ड्यूटी फ्री शॉप का उसनूं बंद करना पै सकता। और उन्होंने ये भी गल कही कि सूबा सरकार ते फैडरल सरकार है उस दे विच वो जरूर मदद कर। सूबा सरकार के मुखी ने लोगों को अपने मुल्क दे विच रहण दे लई छुट्टियां मनाउण दी जिथे हदायत दी है, पर अमरीका वाले उन्होंने आउण दा सद्दा दे रहे हैं। सो उन्हों का कहना है कि 6 महीनों के विच उन्हों दा व्यापार है जिहड़ा उसनूं ताला लग जाएगा।
Advance poll turnout breaks record with 7.3 million ballots cast. Elections Canada says a record number of Canadians cast a ballot early in advance polls this year. Over 4 days of polling between Friday and Monday, 7.3 million people voted.
एडवांस पोलिंग के मुतलक जिहड़े इलैक्शन कैनेडा ने नशर कर दिते अंकड़े जिस दे विच 7.3 मिलियन लोगों ने शुक्रवार तो लैके सोमवार तक 4 दिन की एडवांस पोलिंग दे विच हिस्सा लिया, अपनी वोट पाई, जिहड़ा कि अपने आप दे विच बहुत बड़ा रैकड है।
Former World Junior Hockey players plead not guilty at sex assault trial. 5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey team have pleaded not guilty as jury selection begins in their sexual assault trial. Dylan Dube, Carter Hart, Michael McLeod, Cal Fute, and Alex Fomentin were charged with sexual assault early last year in an incident that allegedly took place in London, Ontario in June of 2018. McLeod is facing an additional charge of being party to the offense of sexual assault. The players, all dressed in dark suits, entered their pleas one by one in a packed London courtroom this morning. The charges relate to an incident that allegedly occurred as many of the team's members were in London for a Hockey Canada gala celebrating their gold medal win at their year's World Junior Tournament. The complainant cannot be identified under standard publication ban.
कैनेडा की जूनीयर हॉकी टीम के 5 जिहड़े प्लेयर ने उन्होंने उत्ते सैक्शुअल असॉल्ट दे जिहड़ा केस सी वो पिछले बरे दायर किया गया सी और उस दे लई अज वो कोर्ट दे विच पेश होए अपने काले सूट बूट दे विच पहुंचे हुए सन जिन्हां दे विच उन्होंने नॉट गिल्टी जिहड़ा प्ली है वो अपना दर्ज कराया। जागरे 2018 दे विच अपनी जिहड़ी जिੱਤ है उसनूं सैलीब्रेट करन दे लई होई इस सैलीब्रेशन दे विच ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੈਕਸ਼ੂਅਲ ਅਸੌਲਟ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੋਸ਼ੀ ਕਰਾਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ। ਅੱਜ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾਤਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜੂਰੀ ਸਿਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਉਹੀ ਰਹੀ।
Wreck beach drowning victim identified after body found at Stanley Park. A fundraiser has been set up to support the family of a young man who tragically drowned near Vancouver's Wreck Beach last week. Search and rescue crews were called to the area Thursday evening after a man was spotted in distress in the water before he disappeared. The university RCMP says helicopters, drones and police dogs were out helping with the search along with support from multiple other agencies including the Canadian Coast Guard, Vancouver Fire Rescue and Metro Vancouver Parks. On Friday, the Vancouver Police Department announced it was calling off the search after body was found on the 3rd beach several kilometers away on the western edge of Stanley Park. The victim was now identified as a 26-year-old Rahul Ranwa. An organizer behind a GoFundMe page in Ranwa's honor identifies themselves as his cousin Yuvraj Singh. Rahul was just 26, the only son of his parents, and had come to Canada last year as an international student. He was pursuing his MBA at Vancouver Community College, a bright student, a member of the student council, and someone who worked tirelessly at a part-time job to support his family back home, said Singh. Ranwa's family is raising funds to return his body to his parents in India. Beyond funeral and repatriation cost, we are also raising funds to help clear the debts taken by his parents in India for his education and relocation. Rahul's dreams were built on their sacrifices, and we want to ease the financial burden they are left carrying in the midst of unimaginable grief. As of Monday afternoon, the page has raised about $20,000.
ਵੀਰਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਸਟੈਨਲੀ ਪਾਰਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੈਕ ਬੀਚ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਦੇ ਡੁੱਬੇ ਜਾਣ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਸਨ ਔਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਵਿਭਾਗਾਂ ਨੇ ਮਿਲ ਜੁਲ ਕੇ ਮਦਦ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਪਰ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਾ ਨਾ ਸਕੇ ਬਲਕਿ ਸ਼ੁੱਕਰਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਰੀਰ ਆ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਿੱਥੋਂ ਗਾਇਬ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਮ੍ਰਿਤਕ ਸਰੀਰ ਕਾਫੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਦੂਰੀ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਮ੍ਰਿਤਕ ਸਰੀਰ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਹੋਇਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਪਛਾਣ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਨਸ਼ਰ ਜੀ ਹੁਣ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਉਸੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਡੁੱਬ ਗਿਆ ਔਰ ਹੁਣ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਗੋਫੰਡਮੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੇਜ ਆ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਫਿਊਨਰਲ ਕਾਸਟ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਰਜ਼ਾ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਅਦਾਇਗੀ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਫੰਡ ਰੇਜ਼ਿੰਗ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਗੋਫੰਡਮੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਇਆ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 20,000 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਡਾਲਰ ਦਾ ਰਾਸ਼ੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਜਮ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 1 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉਹ ਭਾਰਤ ਤੋਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਆਇਆ ਸੀ ਮਾਂ-ਬਾਪ ਦਾ ਇਕਲੌਤਾ ਪੁੱਤਰ ਸੀ ਔਰ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਫਿਊਨਰਲ ਦੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਗੋਫੰਡਮੀ ਪੇਜ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਮਦਦ ਦੀ ਗੁਹਾਰ ਲਗਾਈ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ
Pope Francis lies in state ahead of his funeral set for Saturday. Pope Francis' funeral has been set for Saturday at 10 a.m. in St. Peter's Square, and a viewing of his body will begin on Wednesday in St. Peter's Basilica, days after the popular pontiff died of a stroke at age 88. He is currently lying in state in the Santa Marta Domus in a private viewing for Vatican residents and the papal household. Cardinals met at the Vatican on Tuesday to schedule Francis' funeral and burial, plan the conclave to elect his successor, and make other decisions about running the Catholic Church as world leaders and the ordinary faithful grieve at the pontiff's death. History's first Latin American pontiff charmed the world with his humble style and concern for the poor, but alienated many conservatives with critiques of capitalism and climate change. He last appeared in public on Sunday with an Easter blessing and the Pope mobile tour through a cheering crowd in St. Peter's Square. Francis showed the first sign of illness around 5:30 a.m. on Easter Monday and fell into a coma an hour later after making a gesture of farewell with his hand to his personal healthcare assistant Massimiliano Strapati, according to the Vatican News. The people who were with Francis at the time say he didn't appear to have suffered, the official Vatican news agency reported Tuesday. Pope Francis had doubts about the Easter Sunday Pope mobile ride through St. Peter's Square, the first among the throngs of faithful since surviving near-fatal pneumonia, Vatican News reported on Tuesday. Do you think I can manage it? The pontiff asked Massimiliano Strapati, his personal healthcare assistant, Vatican News reported. The Pope was reassured and he stopped to embrace people, especially children, as he was driven through the crowd of 50,000. Afterward, Francis told Strapati, "Thank you for bringing me back to the square," Vatican News reported. On his previous outings to St. Peter's Square during his convalescence, the Pope was pushed in a wheelchair to the altar from the Basilica, not out into the wider crowd. The late Pope's second cousin, who is a Salesian nun at a Catholic school in northeastern Thailand, says learning of his death affected her deeply because we are relatives and I never expected such news so suddenly. So I ask God to take him to heaven, and from heaven he will bless us, Sister Anna Rosa Sivori told journalists Tuesday in the capital Bangkok ahead of a memorial church service. She came to Thailand in 1966 as a younger sister from Argentina and was at the Pope's side as a translator during his 2019 trip to Bangkok. She is due to fly to Italy Wednesday for his funeral. Like many, she recalled Francis as strong in speaking his mind, especially on behalf of the poor, even if there was something the listener rather not hear. Even though cardinals don't campaign for the job, they're always front runners going into conclave to choose the next pope. These candidates, known as papabile, are regarded to be qualities to the pope. While any baptized Roman Catholic male is eligible, only cardinals have been selected since 1378. The winner must receive at least two-thirds of the vote from those cardinals who are under age 80 and thus eligible to participate. The sacred and secretive process is no popularity contest, but rather considered to be the divinely inspired election of the Christ vicar on the earth by the princes of the church. Every pope has his critics, and Pope Francis probably expected that he would face opposition to his reform agenda after Catholics for 2 generations grew used to more conservative doctrine-minded pontiffs. But his critics were unique in that for the first year of his pontificate that had living alternate as a point of reference, Pope Benedict. Among those who made their mark during Francis' pontificate were Benedict's longtime secretary as well as a former Vatican ambassador to the US. Also included were 4 conservative cardinals who asked questions about Francis' decisions to open the door to letting divorced and civilly remarried Catholics to receive communion. Francis' predecessor, Pope Benedict, stunned the world when he announced his resignation in 2013, the first in 600 years that led some to wonder as Francis grew increasingly frail and sick if he would follow his predecessor's footsteps. While Francis kept open the possibility and even had a resignation letter prepared, he said more recently that he believed that the papacy was for life and pointed out the risk that papal resignations might become a fashion or the norm. I believe that the Pope's ministry is ad vitam for life, see no reason why it shouldn't be so, he said, according to closed doors comments reported by the Jesuit journal La Civiltà Cattolica.
पोप ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਫਿਊਨਰਲ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਨਿਰਧਾਰਿਤ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਔਰ ਉਹ ਹੈ ਸੈਟਰਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਔਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਲ ਟਾਈਮ 10 ਵਜੇ ਹੋਏਗਾ। ਪੋਪ ਦੇ ਜਾਣ ਤੋਂ ਉਪਰੰਤ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਖਬਰਸਾਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਗਾਹਾਂ ਸਕਸੈਸਰ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਕੌਣ ਹੋਏਗਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਛੱਡਿਆ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੰਮ ਆ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਗਾਹਾਂ ਕੌਣ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਏਗਾ। ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਪੋਪ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਲਤਨ ਅਮਰੀਕਨ ਪੋਪ ਸੀ ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਵਡੇਰੀ ਮਾਤਰਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਸੰਦ ਕੀਤਾ। ਉਹ ਗਰੀਬਾਂ ਦਾ ਔਰ ਲੋੜਵੰਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਮਸੀਹਾ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਉੱਭਰਿਆ ਔਰ ਉਸਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਇਹ ਕਾਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰੀ ਹੈ ਅਖੀਰਲੇ ਦਮ ਤੱਕ ਜਾਰੀ ਰੱਖੀ। ਔਰ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਫਿਊਨਰਲ ਹੈ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸੈਟਰਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਣ ਤੋਂ ਉਪਰੰਤ ਨਵੇਂ ਪੋਪ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੋਣ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰਕਿਰਿਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਏਗੀ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਿ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਫੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਪੇਚੀਦਾ ਤੇ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਟ੍ਰਿਕਟ ਰੂਲਸ ਐਂਡ ਰੈਗੂਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮੱਦੇ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਅਗਾਂਹ ਚੱਲੇਗੀ और नवे पोप की ਜਿਹੜੀ नामजदगी है वो नशर की जाएगी।
इसी के साथ हमें दीजिएगा इजाजत खबरों दा लेखा जोखा के इस सेगमेंट से, और इसे आप तक पहुंचा रहे थे लेकर 62। घर पे कोई मेहमान आ रहे हैं, गैदरिंग्स हो रही है, कोई फंक्शन है, सेलिब्रेशन है, एनिवर्सरी, बर्थडेज या फिर शादी ब्याह है, या वैसे ये हल्ला गुल्ला करना हो, शराब की जरूरत है तो बेस्ट एंड डिस्काउंटेड प्राइसेस आपको मिल सकता है लिकर 62 से 6285 किंग जॉर्ज बुलेवार्ड लिकर 62।